For those of you who are just joining, if you look over at your name, you'll notice you might have the wrong name. If you could click the three little dots and rename yourself, most people are coming in as Charlotte because of a glitch we're having with Zoom. So if you're able to rename your profile, that would be great. But we are going to launch a poll, so hopefully we'll figure out who everyone is. I'm going to get started if that sounds good. So welcome everyone, good morning, and thank you for being with us today. As we welcome guests from across Turtle Island, we would like to acknowledge that the ROI office in Guelph is located on unceded land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. We're grateful for the opportunity to meet and work on this land, and we thank all generations of people who have taken care of it for thousands of years. Long before today, First Peoples have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territories of the Attawandaron and Haudenosaunee people, and those represented in the Upper Canada and Haldimand treaties. Before handing things over to Kezia, I'm going to get back to the Zoom and launch a quick poll that you should see in your chat. Charlotte, can I ask you to go to the polls and see if you can launch the poll from the chat? For some reason, I'm not able to access it at this point.
Okay, I will get on that, and Kezia, you can start with our introductions.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our housing webinar. We're going to be sharing the Rural Housing Information, or excuse me, the Rural Ontario Institute's housing data tools with you today. And as we all know, access to rural data and housing information is very challenging in our rural communities. Showing up there on the side, there's a couple points. Levels of inadequate housing vary across rural regions, and the need exists everywhere, but solutions really need to be tailored to local conditions and place appropriate. Rural housing is very different. For example, migration to and from Ontario census divisions is the biggest factor in population change. That level of churn that varies across rural regions as levels of youth out-migrate and empty nesters in-migrate to our rural municipalities. Housing attainability is strongly linked to labor force shortages that is more acute in rural regions. And one survey in 8 of our southwestern counties found that 91% of employers reported employees were having difficulty finding appropriate housing. Today's session is to showcase the Rural Ontario Institute's housing data tools and to learn how they can be applied by your nonprofit organizations. I'd like to introduce today's speakers. Danielle Latang, our Senior Data Analyst, and Charlotte Craig, the Rural Housing Information Systems Data Analyst and Trainer. I'll turn it over to you, Danielle.
Thanks, Kezia. Just sharing my screen. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to today's session. So as Kezia mentioned, my name is Danielle Latang, and I'm the Senior Data Analyst here at the Rural Ontario Institute. I'll start by going over a few context setting slides, and then I'll describe our Rural Ontario Facts products and show you a demonstration of our housing dashboard. So the Rural Ontario Institute is a charitable organization. Our mission is to build vision, voice, and leadership. And we do this by offering leadership programs for people in the agricultural sector and also for rural youth. We also provide leaders with data and analysis to make informed decisions. And we also connect leaders together to create communities of practice, to share opportunities and challenges. So in terms of our data analysis projects, we currently have 4 going on right now, and I am leading 3 of these projects. So the Facts, Wellbeing, and Eco Footprint projects. And my colleague Kezia is managing the Rural Housing Information System project. But we also have a long history of producing helpful knowledge resources. In particular, the Focus on Rural Ontario Fact Sheet series was produced by Ray Bowman from 2013 to 2022. And all of our knowledge resources, both current and past, can be found in our Knowledge Center website. So as I'm sure many of you here are aware, many local communities struggle to find local data. Some data sources provide data at a regional scale, which may not be helpful for local decision making. And another related issue is the lack of data analysis capacity in rural communities. So they may not be able to access, interpret, or analyze any local data that may actually be available. So we've created a product to make it easier for rural communities to access data and gain a better understanding of local issues and opportunities. Rural Ontario Facts is a topical pairing of fact sheets with interactive digital dashboards. So the dashboards provide statistics, maps, and data visualizations for all census subdivisions in Ontario. And the fact sheets provide a summary and analysis at a higher level, showing rural and urban trends. So what we hope are the outcomes of this product are improved access to organized rural data. We're allowing users to interact with that data. We're providing a lot of maps for that place-based and spatial context. And overall, just hoping that there's an improvement in understanding of local issues and opportunities. So since we've launched the product in July of 2022, we have published 5 dashboards and 12 fact sheets. Our newest dashboard is housing, and we just published that last week on National Housing Day, actually. Most of our dashboards are featuring data from the 2021 Statistics Canada Census Profile. Our economics dashboard, though, does have some data from OMAFRA's analyst tool around jobs and wages. But we're always exploring other data sources for future topics. So how do we hope this product is being used? Well, we hope that communities are using this product to make sense of local data. We hope that this information is being used to make informed decisions about a community. And we also hope that this product makes communities feel more empowered to tell compelling stories about what's going on in their communities, so that they can identify issues and develop solutions. So in particular, our housing dashboard features a number of data points from the 2021 census, including all of these points here. Most of these points are also featured in the housing information system, but the Rural Ontario Facts products are freely available. They do not require a membership or any kind of subscription, so they're all easily accessed from our website. Okay, and now I will provide a demonstration of the dashboard. So to get to the dashboard from our homepage, you just have to access the Knowledge Center, which is where all of our data resources are currently housed. So once you're in the Knowledge Center, you can choose from the menu on the left or from the tile menu in the middle. Once you click on Rural Ontario Facts, you'll find a bit of an explanatory blurb at the top here. And there's also a helpful tutorial video to show you how to use the dashboards and navigate it. All of the dashboards are organized by topic in this accordion menu. So to find the links for dashboards and fact sheets, just expand the accordion menu like this. Some of the dashboards have multiple fact sheets depending on different topics. Some of them only have 1 or 2. So when you click on a fact sheet link, it'll open the PDF version of the document that you can download to your computer. And when you click on a dashboard link, it'll bring you to Tableau Public, which is where all of our dashboards are currently hosted. It may take a minute or 2 for the dashboard to load. Don't worry, that is perfectly normal. So all of the dashboards in our Rural Ontario Facts series have a common look and feel. When you land on any of the dashboards, you'll be on the About tab, which just has some summary information about data sources. And there are links here through these icons. You can go to the StatsCan website for more information. You can also use these contact us buttons here if you'd like to get in touch with us for any reason. The sidebar menu here just provides a brief description of what this product is, but there are also links here to the fact sheets, which brings you back to our website, or there are links here that bring you to the other dashboards in the series. All of the dashboards also have an overview tab that provide a bit of a summary of those rural and urban trends. So there's a summary table here at the top that has a sampling of data points that you'll find on each dashboard. We've also included a map of our rural classification along with definitions. So for us, any community is considered rural if it's located outside of a census metropolitan area, and it's considered urban if it's within a census metropolitan area. If you scroll to the bottom of the overview tab, you'll find a summary table that has information for all of the data points here for every census subdivision in Ontario. Now, of course, this is a lot of information, and there are multiple ways to filter and focus this information. And let's do that using the Dwellings tab. So most of the topic-specific dashboard tabs also have a really similar look and feel. There's a brief description at the top. This information icon, if you hover over it, will provide you with definitions and data sources, or any important notes that you should be aware of. You can also access the fact sheet by clicking directly on this link. So the interactive elements here, or the filterable elements, I should say, are the map and any data visualizations. So you can choose an individual municipality either by scrolling through the long list, or if you know what you're looking for, you can start typing in the search bar and it will bring it up for you. Once you make a selection, the map will zoom in to that community and it will filter all of the elements on this dashboard. So now we're only seeing data for Tay Valley. But you can also look at information for more than one community in different groupings. So the other drop-down menus allow you to look at different groupings of communities. So for example, let's choose the Lanark Census Division, which is what Tay Valley is a part of. So now, when you choose a region, you can see still all of the individual communities that are within this region. So here's Tay Valley, and here's all the other communities that belong in the Lanark Census Division. What you're seeing now with the visuals, though, are regional totals. So these are totals that are aggregated from each of the census subdivisions within this region. The circle chart below the map shows the range in the data point for all of the communities that have been selected. So here we can see that Tay Valley is on the low end for the proportion of dwellings that are occupied by usual residents. To interpret that, the flip side of it is it has more dwellings occupied by seasonal residents than the other communities do. And if we look at the high end of this data range, we can see that almost all of the dwellings in Carleton Place are occupied by usual residents. So when you choose a regional grouping, the summary table at the bottom will still feature all of the information for all of the individual communities within that region. But once you've chosen a region, you can still drill down specifically to look at an individual community. So you can click on the map. And if you click on the map, then it will filter the map for that selection. You can also click on the circle chart. So if you choose a community from the circle chart, it will zoom in and filter accordingly. Clearing selections when you're working with an interactive element is very easy. Once you've clicked on something, you can just click on it again and it will clear that selection. To clear a selection from the drop-down menus, you can just click on this little tiny clear filter icon right beside the filter title, or you can choose the all category at the very top, or you can also choose the clear filters button. Clear Filters button works really well for the drop-down menus, not quite as well for the map. So when you do this and clear the filter, for some reason, it will maintain the highlight of your selection, even though it has cleared the filters. This is just a quirky Tableau thing that doesn't affect anything, but if it bothers you and you want to get rid of it, you can just double click on the map and it will get rid of that selection for you. So just to point out that we don't currently allow downloads of data from these dashboards, but you can download an image. So if you click on the download button, then a little pop-up menu will appear and you can choose how you want to show it. The easiest way, I think, is to look at a PDF. So you can just download the PDF and it will save it to your computer. And this will take a bit of a moment here, but I did one earlier. And this is what it would look like. So if you downloaded a PDF for the Lanark Census Division, this is what it would look like here. If you did want to access any data from these dashboards, please just get in touch with me and I'm happy to provide them for you. And actually, we have provided information to municipalities and they've used that for reports to council. I also just wanted to make note of some of the data limitations. So we're currently featuring information from the 2021 census profile only. We may look at adding more historical data if capacity allows, but that would be quite time consuming. So we're not sure if we'll be able to do that. We're also making every effort to ensure that all of the information here is as accurate as possible. And we do quality assurance checks for that. But if you notice any issues or discrepancies, please get in touch with me so that I can fix it as soon as possible. You know, we are a small nonprofit and we don't have much capacity and it's just me doing these dashboards. So any help that you can provide would be great. One other note, which is that the way we do our regional aggregation is from the bottom up. So we take all of the data from each of the census subdivisions and then aggregate it to a higher level. But sometimes the data might be missing for some census subdivisions. So using this bottom-up approach, some of our regional totals might be different from StatsCan totals or from other sources that use the regional data specifically, because those numbers would include data that might have been suppressed at a lower geographic scale, either for confidentiality reasons or because some of the census subdivisions might not have been sampled. So just be aware of that. Also, just to note that we welcome feedback and suggestions at any time. We want to make sure these products are helpful and relevant. So if you have any suggestions, please do get in touch with us. And now I'll just really quickly show you some of the data on the other tabs. So we'll look at affordability really quickly. So again, same sort of look and feel, but just with different data and different data points. So if we wanted to see what was happening in Tay Valley again, we just choose that community. And now we can see that 13% of households in Tay Valley are unaffordable. And for us, unaffordable housing is defined as households that are spending more than 30% of their income on shelter costs. So here beside the map, you can see we have the median shelter costs here, broken down by owned dwellings and rented dwellings, and then also the proportion of different ownership types. But again, if we want to look at something a little bit more geographically broad, we can select the Lanark Census Division to see how Tay Valley compares to others. And we can see that generally in the smaller communities that have a higher population, there are a higher proportion of unaffordable households. And if we scroll down to the circle chart, we can see that Drummond North Elmsley has the smallest proportion of unaffordable housing, but Smiths Falls has the highest proportion of unaffordable housing. So sometimes it's helpful to scroll to the summary table to look at some of the other data points all together. And sort of right away, what comes out to me is that Smiths Falls actually has the lowest median household income among all the communities in this region. And so that might be part of what explains the affordability issue in this community. So this is really what we hope that these dashboards are useful for, is identifying issues, trying to provide some context around what might be happening in these communities. And then finally, I'll just give you a quick look at the suitability tab. So again, same sort of layout, again, different data points. So here we're looking at the proportion of households that are considered unsuitable. So this would be households that don't have enough bedrooms for the size and composition of a household. We're also looking here at the size of dwellings and then the size of households. So for example, again, let's choose Tay Valley. And what we see is that only 2% of households are considered unsuitable in Tay Valley. And that's probably because the dwellings are rather large, but the households are quite small. So there's not a lot of overcrowding happening in Tay Valley. And now let's get the regional picture. So we can see that generally the households are considered large enough or have enough bedrooms for their households in this region. Smiths Falls has a higher proportion, but it's still all below the provincial average of 7%. I just wanted to point out, though, that this context is very different in Indigenous communities, which is what I discovered when I was writing the fact sheet associated with this dashboard. So, for example, if we choose the Kenora Census Division, what we'll see is that there's a higher proportion of households that are considered unsuitable. But even more troubling is the much higher proportion of households that are in need of major repair. All of these communities are much higher than the provincial average of 7%. In some cases, more than half or almost half of communities are the households are considered unsuitable. So that would be too small. So there would be overcrowding happening in these households. So what we hope is that our dashboards and fact sheets can be helpful in identifying some of these issues and drawing attention to them so that governments and organizations can develop solutions. So that concludes our demonstration. Thank you for your interest in the Royal Ontario Institute's data resources. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have in the Q&A session if we have time, or get in touch with me if you'd like more information. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter for updates about new data products as we release them. And now I'll turn it over to Charlotte.
Amazing, thank you, Danielle. I'm just now going to share my screen so that we can begin the presentation. I need to be made a host, please. Thank you everyone for sitting through our slight technical difficulties here. I love seeing the army of myself joining the meeting today. As I get the ability to share my screen from our staff on the back end, I want to introduce myself. I am the real Charlotte Craig, and I am the RHIS data analyst and the trainer. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about the product that we have, which is the Rural Housing Information System. So the RHIS is a platform that brings together a multitude of housing information that can really help inform important decisions in our rural communities. So we've heard throughout this session the importance of rural housing data and innovative solutions, and this is the space in which the RHIS was created from. The RHIS seeks to make information easily accessible to facilitate, again, the creation of affordable housing in rural regions. Currently, the RHIS is available in Southern Ontario, but is expanding to Northern Ontario in 2024, and then Saskatchewan and Quebec also in 2024, and hopefully in the years to come, all of Canada. So the RHIS is managed by the team here at the Royal Ontario Institute. And from this, we were able to learn a lot about the status and the ins and outs of housing within our rural communities. And we were able to engage in a lot of stakeholder engagement. So we found that the information surrounding rural housing was poorly maintained, underpopulated, non-uniform between jurisdictions, and this was creating a huge information gap between our stakeholders. So we went and we talked to different groups. So we spoke to our municipal staff, we spoke to developers and building associations, housing services, housing managers, real estate professionals, and for the purpose of today, specifically, we went and talked to nonprofit housing providers. So what we found when we talked to these different groups was overall, they needed reliable information that was easily accessible, especially for our nonprofit housing providers and other groups. It's really important to have access to rural data to complete funding applications or grant applications to move the important work that you do forward without wasting a massive amount of staff time. So when we heard this, we knew that we had this huge problem that we needed to address, not only through the RHIS, we also used Danielle's products, the rural fact sheets, to address this problem. But for the RHIS, we knew that we needed a solution that required a lot of different partners. So we were able to work with the Eastern Ontario's Wardens Caucus. So they were awarded 1.2 million from CMHC's Housing Fund in 2022. They brought us on as the project manager, as well as the tech firm Energy, who we have worked with to create this data solution to affordable rural housing. As of a couple months, we have now launched the RHIS to rural Western Ontario with the help of the leads at South Central Ontario Regional Economic Development Corporation, say that 10 times fast, as well as the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus. So through these partnerships, we have been able to create the rural housing information, which at its core seeks to provide local, reliable, salient, and current rural data to assist proponents and municipalities in the planning and construction of affordable housing. So I'm now going to move into a demonstration of the RHIS. So today we're going to be showing a multitude of different areas within Eastern Ontario. We have a variety of people attending the session today, so I want to be inclusive and show as many different areas as possible. But with the subscription, an additional demonstration would come with it. So if you're looking to get into the nitty-gritty of your small town, I would be happy to do that as well with you on your own time. And also, I am going to be moving quite quickly just in the nature of this kind of webinar, but there are a lot of resources that will be able to move you through the system at a much more reasonable pace. So the RHIS, when you get to it, you'll be greeted with this login area. So the first thing that you're going to do as a new user, you're going to click sign up now and insert your information. From there, we're going to send you a document with all of our pricing information and everything that you need to get started in the RHIS. And then you'll come back to this homepage where you will be able to sign in. I noticed that we do have a couple municipal staff email represented here. So I just wanted to let you know that municipal staff do have free access to the system. So if you're one of those people and you're looking to gain access to the system, you can just sign up using your municipal email or send anyone on the RHIS email a message, and we will be able to get you logged on. So now we can really get to the fun part, which is actually getting into the system. So the RHIS, this is the first page that you'll see when you log in. And there's a couple of things that I want to show right off the bat about how the RHIS can be used by you and your team. So the first thing is that you can toggle it in French and English. Selecting a different language will translate all of the subsequent pages for you. So having that additional language available to you and your team member can be really invaluable if that's something important to you. Also, in this additional tab, you can see links to our tutorials page, which is a page that is full of resources that walk you through every single one of the pages in the RHIS so that you can have a better understanding of how to use the system. Also, the submit feedback button is available to you at any time. You just need to put in your email and what your comment is about bugs, suggesting features, or anything like that. We really want to know how we can make this tool best suit you and your team. So I really encourage you, once you're on the RHIS, to use this to your best ability to let us know how you're liking the system and what you would like to see in the future. So the first page holds just a really quick summary of the RHIS, as well as one of those tutorials that I mentioned about getting started. So it gives you a nice overview of what to expect and how to navigate through the website. So as you scroll down, there's 3 different ways to navigate to the municipality that you would like to see. So you can see the upper tier, the county level, or you can see the single tier county level or the lower tier municipality level for any area within Eastern or Western Ontario. Right now, I'm just looking at Eastern Ontario for today's session, but to toggle in between Eastern and Western, you just use this toggle here, and you can see any of the hundreds of municipalities that we have in the system. So just because you're from Eastern Ontario doesn't mean that you exclusively get that information. You will have access to Eastern Ontario, Western Ontario, and as they become available on the system, Northern Ontario, Quebec, and Saskatchewan. So just a massive amount of area covered, and all the information is available in this one place for you. So to navigate to the municipality that you would like to look at, you can use the search bar here. You can use the map if you're geographically inclined to do so, or the most popular option is you can use these image cards below to select either the upper tier county or any of the lower tier municipalities. So once you've selected your municipality, for this first section, I'm looking at the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, but you can select anyone that you want. You'll be brought to this overview page. So all of the municipalities do have different pages associated with them. So they have the overview, demographics, economics, housing market, housing supply, development incentives, zoning, and a comparison tool, all available for them. But when you navigate to them first in the system, you'll just see this overview page. All of our pages have a very similar layout. They have a summary at the top, followed by high-level data cards, and then you'll see either municipal links, a map, or graphs. So some kind of interactable aspect to each page. So we've kept it as simple as possible so that the information can be easily plucked and cherry-picked throughout the system when you're doing your own important work. One thing to note is that we do have a list of urban locations that have been removed from the RHIS. So based on its name, the Rural Housing Information System exclusively works to serve rural communities. So all of these urban locations have been extracted from the data point. And this is because a lot of rural areas actually have their information incredibly skewed by the urban counterparts that their information is lumped with quite commonly. This can increase housing values, inflate average income, all of those metrics. So we have done a lot of work to remove these urban centers from rural information. So if you see information for your community that looks a little bit different than what you would typically see in the census, I would encourage you to investigate this list to see if there's a town that has been removed from that area. So on this first page, on the overview page, this includes information about population, income, prices of housing, core housing need, as well as it holds a community map. So you can see those high-level data points at the top. All of our data points do come with a definition when you hover over the eye icon. There are a lot of different variables when you're looking at housing data that are very easily, they can be mixed up with one another. The difference between core housing need versus unaffordable housing is one that gets me quite commonly. And having that easy access to that definition makes it a lot easier to use these points effectively. So you can see the definition. You can also see a link to the sourcing information. So for the first 3 data points, you can see that that information has come from the census. And you can see there's other data points such as classified listings, which I'll get into later. But all of this information about where the data comes from is available in our data sources and definitions page. So again, as you're looking to create these reports to improve your projects, you're able to do those citations just really quickly at the blink of an eye. You can do that citation without having to do too much digging. So once we get past our high-level data points, we can actually see the municipal links as well. So we not only aggregate information from a variety of different sources, we also, that are open source, we also aggregate information available within our municipalities. So our municipalities have a plethora of wealth that they are looking to share, but typically it can get lost within municipal websites. A PDF here, a PDF there, a website here, a website there. It can really eat into your staff time, whereas on the RHIS, this information is all right there for you in regards to official plan, housing and homelessness plan, as well as annual reports. So as we scroll down, we're able to see the community map. So the community map holds geographic data points around the schools, parks, health centers, and community and rec centers. So all of this information is important when you are making decisions about building homes or serving your community as a social service member. It really can be helpful. This is a federal resource that's not usually as user-friendly, but we have adapted it to be in here so that you can easily see what kind of resources are available to you. So all of the assets are actually marked within a 1 hour radius of the municipality, not exclusively in the municipality like other resources. And we've done that because a lot of rural areas actually have to drive across those geographic bounds or those municipal lines in order to get to the resources, to the schools and the hospitals that they need. So while it shows everything within a 1 hour radius, you also have the option to toggle just the things within the municipality so that you can best see all of the resources available to you. All right, so this is a lot of information. I know I'm going just about at the speed of light. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to contact myself or reference the tutorials as you move forward as a member within the RHIS. So I don't want anyone to feel panicked as I run through all of this data. All right, so using the navigation bar on the left, we are actually going to navigate to the demographics page. So the demographics page shows information around your communities, again, population, age structure, and household structure. So again, having that same layout of high level summary, followed by data points, and then interactable graphs, sheets. It can really vary depending on the data that we're showing. So we can see these first couple data points are derived from the census, and then we also have the number of people on the by name priority list. So the number of people on the by name priority list is a metric of homelessness within each of our counties. This is a data point supplied by municipalities to us and can be really helpful to know as you look to make decisions around assisting homelessness populations. So we've used this metric because it is commonly seen throughout each jurisdiction. So instead of using point in time counts or head counts, we've used this because you can actually work and compare this data point across many different areas, whereas you don't want to be comparing apples to oranges in your work. So as we scroll down, we can see the first set of our graphs that you can interact with. So population and household structure are the first two. If I wanted to see exclusively the trend of single parent households, I can unselect all of these variables and see that trend over time. All of these graphs are available for download using the icon on the right so that you can use them in your own reports. And we also have the information shown in a table if that's more your speed. So you can see all that information just written out for you as well. So for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward to our economics page, which holds information about your community's economy, major industries, income, and unemployment. So really, again, this page is bringing together information from multiple sources to one easy location for you to use as you work to do these reports or grant proposals in your own communities. instead of having to going to, half a dozen sites, especially when we're comparing census data over time. As someone who works with the census data a lot, it can be a pain to try to pull different data points from multiple years. Whereas on the RHIS, this is all available to you really quickly in an accessible way. So we can see all of this information derived from the census, as well as information from OMAFRA around the top 10 jobs by major industry. Again, all interactable and all downloadable for your own manipulation if you need that in a report. So moving on to the housing market page. This page holds information about population values, asking rent, shelter costs, and housing affordability. So there's quite a few census data points here as well from the 2015, the 2011, 2016, and the 2021 census. But the real thing that I want to focus on here, and this is for the County of Hastings, just for your reference, is our collection of classified listings. So as members in rural areas, we know that the rental market is incredibly different than our urban counterparts. So having information that is specific for our rural areas is really important. Typical methods of rental data collection actually don't survey areas of less than 10,000 people, which is 75% of Ontario. That's a huge area of people that aren't getting the information that they need about rental data, especially those who are being forced to make big decisions as their areas develop economically, develop socially, and they need this kind of information. So every single month, we collect information from classified, so Kijiji and an additional site. We take that information, clean it up, and put it on here for your reference. So you can see here the average asking rent over time for each number of bedrooms. So 1, 2, and 3 bedroom types. You can hover over the listings and see the average price on that month, or you can look at each average rent for each number of bedrooms. You can also see the type of dwelling for which the rental data is associated with. So in this instance, so in rural communities, it's not going to be typical high rises as we have in Toronto. It's going to be auxiliary dwelling or multi-dwelling units of basements, townhouses, triplexes, things like that. So we have all that information held here so you can see what the rental stock is like and also what the pricing is like in your community, just at a glance, rather than taking the massive amount of time it takes to collect this information. So that is our housing market page. Moving forward to our housing supply page. This is for the township of North Dundas. So getting really granular into those lower tier municipalities, we can see this page shows information about dwellings, permits, and the community housing. So again, we can see here the StatsCan data points, and then we can also see data points provided by our municipalities. So in Ontario, a lot of the affordable housing and a lot of the municipally operated units are changing every year. So we update this information with our municipality annually to reflect the amount of units that are not only available, but are affordable. And again, similar to Danielle, in her definition of affordable housing, it is all housing that is under 30% of your income. As we scroll down, we can see some more interactable graphs, but I want to focus on the permit data. So permit data is a big hot topic in our communities as it's hard to get, it's hard to manage, and it's hard to find data on the previous information in our municipalities. So we actually have a custom data pool from StatsCan that provides all of the permit data every single month for all of our municipalities, broken down by type of dwelling. And we put it on here every month so you can see what the permit information is available. And you can also see the number of units completed, so you can actually see how many of those permits come to fruition. So moving on to the housing and development incentives page. So this page shows exactly that. It shows the development charges. As we know, this is a very up in the air topic right now with the provincial guidelines that are being added to our communities. But as of right now, we are just showing whether or not the county has development charges, not getting into the nitty-gritty of it, but we are monitoring the situation to add more data. We also have exemptions and waivers, as well as municipal affordable housing grants and incentives. This is something that is really important for this group that we're talking to today. So having this information all in one place can save you a ton of time. So while it doesn't have the comprehensive, dozens of pages for each of these municipal grants, it's a really great jumping off point. So you can do your own Google search of all of these municipal grants rather than having to find them on your own and then do that additional search afterwards. So we're now going to move on to the zoning page. I'm showing Prince Edward County's zoning page today. And this zoning map actually aggregates a lot of information surrounding zoning, settlement boundaries, as well as settlements and services. So this can save, once again, a ton of time for you as you're looking to make affordable housing decisions. So we can see here all of the zoning as I toggle it on and off for the areas within this county. We can also see the settlements and services, so water, wastewater, or both in these communities. And you can also layer on a map if you really want to get into it and see how these lots are currently being used, as well as their zoning. So this is something that a lot of municipal staff are excited to use, as well as builders who are looking to come into these areas. They can just quickly see this information, and obviously they will have to do their own research and talk to the municipality about the logistics of being involved in development. But having this as a jumping off point saves hours of time. We can also see links to the comprehensive zoning bylaw, as well as explanations for all of the bylaws for the residential builds. So the last tool that I am going to show is our comparison tool. So the comparison tool allows you to compare any municipality on the system to one another in regards to any of the data points available. So right now, let's say we want to compare Peck to the county of Halliburton. So we can see here by quickly clicking the add locations button, we can compare them in regards to any of these data points without having to painstakingly pull out these data points ourselves and make our own comparison charts. You can also add any data points here. If I want to compare average rents for this region, I can easily add that using the add fields button, and I compare the average rents for all of these regions just so quickly. So this is a tool that I would recommend checking out the tutorial. It can be a little bit tricky for those who haven't used it before, but again, when you join us on the RHIS, you'll have a full hour or more with me to go over anything in the system that you're unsure of. So that's the last thing in the demonstration I want to show. I just have a few slides to wrap up, and then I'll be taking some questions at the end. But thank you for bearing with me as I speak incredibly fast and go over so much data with you. So the RHIS, as we said, is available to WOWC, Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, and as well as SCORE municipal staff at this time. But this is our official launch to the private sector and the non-for-profit sector. So for non-for-profits, it's a $2,000 fee per year, that as well as any taxes and fees, just depending on how you are available to make the payments. So whether that be through e-transfer, EFT, direct payment, or credit card, it won't incur too much, but with that subscription, you are able to have unlimited logins for your organization. So instead of sharing a single login, you'll be able to have one for each and every one of your staff, so they are able to use it in their own time. You'll get a 1-hour personalized training session with me, so we'll be able to go over all of this information with your team, and I will answer any questions you want for, honestly, as long as you want, an hour or more, whatever you need. I'm happy to talk data for as long as you'll let me. We also will continuously update this data. So I mentioned some of the data that's updated monthly, some of it that's updated annually. We will always be doing that work. And if we don't, we would always let you know so that you know that the data that you're getting is most up to date. And then the last point is that, yes, you will have access to Eastern and Western Ontario, so Southern Ontario, but as Northern Ontario and the other provinces become available, you will automatically be able to see that information. It won't be an additional fee at this time, and you'll be able to see not only how Ontarian jurisdictions compare to one another, but how we compare to other provinces, which I know can be a lot of importance to not-for-profits that are working in those border towns in between Ontario and Quebec or any other regions around there. So I've put my email up on the screen, but I've already been in contact with all of you, sending up the Zoom links and everything like that. So feel free to reach out to me at any time, or you can click the sign up now button in the RHIS link that I'll be sending in just a moment, or Kezia will be sending in just a moment. And if you click the sign up now link, you'll be able to begin the process of joining our team at the RHIS and getting access to all of this data. So I'm now going to open the question session, and we will be sending around a short survey to complete about this webinar. I really appreciate you all taking the time to speak to us today and renaming yourself after taking after my name, unfortunately. And we're really excited to be launching this system, and also we're excited to have those free resources to those who might not be able to obtain the subscription. So I'm going to now open the question section for Danielle and myself, and feel free to put it in the chat or just raise your hand. Thank you again. If you don't have a question, feel free to log off. And again, feel free to reach out to myself or Danielle. Our emails are available on the screen now. Just make sure to do that quick survey on your way out.
Charlotte, I'm just seeing a question come up from Kathy Ireland. It's just, do you have a one-pager of the offering to support sharing highlights with team members?
I do. I'm going to be sending it around to everyone that's participated in the session today via email right after this, just so you have it. I also see someone asking for my slide deck. Absolutely. If you could just send me an email requesting that, I will definitely send that over to you. I can send a link to the recording as well, if that's okay with you, Danielle or Mel.
Yeah, we can publish it, and I'll share that with you.
Great. So that will be coming soon as well. Kezia, there's a question about being able to rejoin. So my understanding of our subscription system is that you will be able to join for a 1-year interval. If you're not going to use it in the next year, you don't have to continue to pay. You can rejoin at any time. I will be sending the package for the RHIS, as well as a link to Danielle's tool, as well as our contact information. We are here to support you, and we'd be happy to help you navigate any of the aspects that we've talked about today. So I'm good to call it there, ROI team, if we're ready to head out, and then we can give everyone that 5 minutes before lunch to grab an extra coffee. Have a great day, everyone.